Hello everybody, it's Esports John. Today we have an epic ZVP between Larva versus Bisu on Neo Jade. This is from stream on June the 26th, and I believe this is during a just a big team battle online. Very epic game, so looking forward to this one. Lots of cool stuff to talk about. If you've been watching my videos at all, if you've been keeping on with me, talking to me at all, you know I'm a huge Larva fanboy. Right now, I honestly think Larva is one of the absolute best, if not the best Zerg out there right now. We've been grinding constantly against the absolute best players in the world, Flash, Last, Bisu, etc. And it's really starting to show. Over time, he's slowly becoming better and better at this game, and his mechanics are really efficient, really strong right now. Probably better than any other Zerg player out there. That's not to say that he is definitively better than Jade. I think Jade, if he practiced as much as Larva, he could definitely do it. But we're talking about Larva practices like something crazy like 12 to 14 hours a day on stream. Like it's insane how much Larva plays. Despite having a baby and everything, so really impressed at how much he's put into this game as of recent. Done a lot on his stream to make money as well, but super excited to see this match. So anyways, we are in a ZVP. We're gonna see the overpool come out first. Not surprising at all. This has become pretty much the standard in ZVP, just so you don't have to deal with any of those kind of pesky cannon rushes. It's the safer build. You get Lings out fast enough to deal with any pylon blocks, but not late enough, or not early enough that it really hits your economy very hard. So we're probably just going to see a triple hatch coming out from Larva. I'd be surprised if he did anything else. So see, the Overlord's going to scout one way, and he's going to scout to the other side with his drone. A little bit of a weird pathing. I wonder if he was looking for any sort of a proxy, or if that's just how the map is weirdly shaped. I can't remember Neo Jade that well, so forgive me if I'm totally wrong. Oh, he's actually not going to go for the quick triple hatch. He's actually going to get the early gas up. So he may do what I like to call the sulky build, because it's the first time I saw it. But the sulky build was basically you get a fast gas up before you get your third hatch, and you get fast link speed, and then you pull everything off of gas and go up to 4 hatches before layer. Right now we do see one of these zealots coming into the main. Larva's going to need some really excellent micro, considering he only has 2 lings out right now. This is going to be a pretty tough sell, but already pulling one drone back very nicely, getting in nice hits from these drones without actually losing any. So very well played so far. Bisu's going to be looking to snipe that drone that he got low earlier, but it's going to be a difficult task, and Larva just doing a good job of zoning out this zealot without taking too much damage. He doesn't care about going in on it as fast as humanly possible. He's mostly just trying to zone it out from his drones. Wow, really good micro there, pulling away that ling. Very good stuff. You see the third base coming up in the top left-ish area, and we see the 100 gas. I wonder if Larva's going to pull off yet, or if he's actually going to kill the zealot before he pulls off. You see that he's completely neglected to spend any of that gas as of yet. He spins it into Zergling speed. We'll have to see if he pulls drones off that completely, if he goes for the fast layer on top of this. But oh no, my bad. He actually went for a fast layer at his faraway base, so very clever play from him. Sorry, that was at his natural. I'm so bad right now. So yeah, he goes for the layer at his natural, so that tells me he's going to be going for a very fast tech play. He's going to be going for probably early mutas, or he might even go lurkers here. This is a very good chance to go for the fast lurkers, but he's going to need to throw down a Hydrogen fairly soon. I think the lack of gas here indicates that he's definitely going into that Hydra lurker build. He's not going to be going super heavily into the Mutalisk, but he does need to throw down the Hydrogen pretty soon. Well, he's just going to be making a ton of lings. This looks like a pretty epic bust. Maybe he's going to be going for a huge bust. I was totally wrong. There is the Spire. This is a very different build that we're seeing from Larva. It's not very standard to go for this many lings on top of a Spire with no gas. So looks like he might be just getting the Spire up to deflect any sort of Corsair counterplay. But this many lings is so weird. You just don't normally see this many lings, especially when you know your opponent has Forge Fast expanded. Usually you get one subgroup of lings because that's enough to deal with any Zealot threats that might come your way. Good surround on this Zealot so far, but not quite. Meets up with the other Zealots, he's going to get away just fine. And looks like he's going to just be feigning an attack with these Zerglings, just trying to pull the Zealots out of position so he can run by. So this is a big run by strategy, and it's pretty risky. It's going to be really difficult to actually get a run by off, but if he does get a run by it, then he can do a lot of damage and catch up in the economy that he's lost by, for making so many lings. In the meanwhile, we just see him droning up in the background. He's probably going to need to start getting upgrades as well as a few his Hydralisk Den up pretty soon, just to deal with these Corsairs that are so annoying. Is he actually okay? No. Bisu is so smart. He's got the Link Tight Wall. He's not taking any chances. I'm a bit surprised that there were no Scourge out already to deal with this first Corsair. So that first Corsair is probably going to get a free Overlord, but looks like Larva is going to be able to push it away for now. Meanwhile, just playing around with these Zealots in the middle of the map. It looks like he might be going for a big surround with these lings, but +1 might already be finished at this point, or it might be close to being finished. And that is a lot of Zealots, so he's gonna nice snipe on that Corsair. So he's gonna be scouting in, seeing how many gates he's up against. If he's up against more than 4 gates, then he needs hella Sunkens in order to deal with it. And meanwhile, he's just gonna be trying to poke as much as possible with this set of lings, while getting up his static D and a couple more units. This is what I'm talking about. The Hydra Den was really late because of all these lings that he made, so he has to do a really good job of delaying with these lings. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult to actually deal with this push. You do see, oh, he doesn't quite get the wall off with the Evo Chamber, but he is going to get a really nice surround and good drone micro so far without losing too many of them. So this is actually gonna, I think it's gonna be held. The Sunkens are still alive. Yeah, there it is. Sunkens are still alive. He still has a ton of lings. The only annoying thing is a couple of those Zealots did escape to the top left-hand base, so he's gonna have to hunt those down with lings. And lings are not the most effective snipers of Zealots with +1. So more Corsairs, not surprising to see from Bisu. I wonder if we're gonna see any sort of Dark Templar or drop play come in pretty soon. Oh my gosh, Brood War where you try to place a building 5 times and it doesn't place because things happen. I don't know if he actually got the Hydra Den down, but I could be wrong. Hopefully he got that Hydra Den down, otherwise it's going to be a pain in the ass when he realizes he didn't. In the meanwhile, just scouting around, trying to look for the Corsairs on the map. Found them! But they get picked off pretty quickly. +1 Corsair is very, very good. Okay, I lied. The Hydra Den did go down, so we're good in that department. Good stuff. Meanwhile, it looks like Bisu is going to be taking this third, and because he went for that such early lings and set his economy behind really far, he's not going to be able to go for a Hydra bust or anything like you would normally be able to do with a very passive economic build as the Zerg player. I would like, honestly, at this point, because there are these Corsairs out on the map, just to spread his lings out a little bit, get a little bit more vision on the map. He doesn't really need to be doing anything with these lings right now, and it's unlikely that he'll get like a solid run by off. But he's going to check in there, he's going to poke and see that there's already a High Templar out. So, fat chance for any sort of a bust. He's just going to have to deal with any sort of danger that comes his way. And this is an interesting play to just kind of force these Corsairs to fight on top of the Spore, but he's going to lose every single one of those Overlords. And that's what you get for not having any Hydralisks at this point. He overcommitted on those Lings early on, and it's slowly causing him lots and lots of issues where he just doesn't have any Hydra numbers against, you know, 6+1 Corsairs at this point in the game. Like, it's pretty late to be not having any sort of Hydras, but he's had to focus entirely on drones. He even took a really fast 4th in order to catch up, so very greedy play. But also, I guess, in response to the 3rd, it's not a bad choice at all. So we're still on Lair Tech, though. That's my one concern, is being entirely on Lair Tech, he's going to have to... Larva's going to have to rely almost entirely on Hydra Lurker in order to deal with any sort of frontal pushes that come his way. He still doesn't have much information on the Protoss player. So at this point, you have to be wondering, what is Bisu doing? Is he going for the Reavers? Is he going to go for a big Death Ball? Is he just going to scout out with these Corsairs while taking a 4th? Which would be a little bit risky, but definitely doable. Or is he going to go for a gigantic Templar Archon Gateway bust? And it looks like it might be the bust that's coming in. No Lurkers as of yet, so Larva is relying entirely on... Here come the Lurkers, they're just coming in, but he's relying entirely on tons of Sunkens and a couple of Hydras, which is going to be a tough, difficult defense, but if anybody can do it, it's Larva. We'll have to see how he handles this frontal push. So here's the first beginnings of the push coming in here, and we've only got 2 Sunkens here. Good wall off though, and that's going to be able to push this away for now. Bisu's probably just going to poke down this hatchery and walk away. But we do see the first Lurkers down, so it's going to be difficult to actually break in here. Before you actually get the Hive Tech, if Protoss hits with Reavers early on, they can bust down these defenses really, really easily. It's not very difficult. But I love the one thing that Larva's doing here, where he's prioritizing getting a lot of Scourge out on the front with some Overlords, so that if any kind of observers try to sneak in, he can snipe it. And this is the kind of play that he needs to make. This is so beautiful. There you go. No more observer. You can't beat the Lurkers. Straight up. So very defensive play from Larva so far. He's got to be careful of drop play coming in soon. If he's not aware of any sort of drops coming in, he could definitely find himself in a situation where Light gets decimated by Dark Templar or Storm drops. So there's a very good chance that things could go badly if he's not careful. But you see, he's already switching into the Lings. Lings are actually a very strong late game unit in ZVP, because with the Adrenal Glands, and once you get good upgrades on them, 3/3 Lings with Adrenal will actually just shred through Zealots better than anything else in the Zerg arsenal. So definitely something that Larva is heading for with this super ultra defensive play. He's looking to try to get into that late game where he can have the mega ultra Lings that kill everything. He's got the double upgrades going. He's even getting Spire upgrades so that he can switch to Mutas if Bisu overcommits here. Basically, this is just turtle time. He basically just has to survive for long enough to get all of the tech units that he needs out, buy time for upgrades, and get toward that hive. So very well done so far, and just continuing to make lots and lots of Sunkens. He is going to scout out this 4th base, so nice discovery for Larva. He knows he's not in too bad a shape right now. He's going to be wanting to get a... Oh, he didn't kill off the shell. It looks like he sniped it with those Hydralisks though. And very nice play. He's actually going to be in here in time to deal with these, but the Overlord went down. That's a bit annoying, but luckily there still is a Spore colony, so he's in good shape. Larva just being really on top of his game, always having the right static defense, always having exactly what he needs in position to deal with it. So even though it was a little bit sloppy control, it was definitely a great save there. Something that could have ended up probably a lot worse. And he knows there's still at least one DT over here, so he's gonna hunt them down. Yeah, it's all three of them. Barely got away. So what Bisu needs to do right now is Bisu really needs to be working on his high-tech units. He wants to be getting out that gigantic death ball of Archon Reaver plus Gateway units. If he can get that. Right now he has way too many Zealots. You saw in that little blip right there. Those Zealots are just going to get shredded by lurkers, even on open ground. So this is... Bisu's composition is really good for the mid game, and it's really good for taking control of the center of the map, but it's going to struggle more and more as the game goes along. Once the Filers get out and you have Plague, the Zealots become completely ineffectual. Like I said earlier, the Lings with 3-3 and Adrenal completely destroy Zealots. So it's like, you really need to get into that Archon Reaver Death Ball that is impossible to deal with, and just use the Zealots for side attacks. But I think at this point, Bisu is just trying to look for an opening in Larva's defenses, but he sees nothing, and he doesn't want to just sacrifice the Zealots for no reason. Although, honestly, I think just pushing into one of these bases with his army and just leading off a couple Zealots would be a little bit more beneficial just to trade, especially since he has the econ advantage right now. I think playing too passively right here is probably going to come back to bite Bisu in the late game, especially if he can't, if you don't translate your economic advantage into a lead somewhere else, then it just becomes even, and it just becomes a split map scenario. So good snipes from Larva on those Corsairs, slowly limiting Bisu's control of the skies. If Bisu isn't on top of remaking his Corsairs and making sure that his air army doesn't dwindle too much, there is the definite chance of a sudden switch into mutas, getting out a handful of mutas just to go harass and be annoying. And wow, the snipe on the Reaver shuttle, that is a really big deal. It's going to be so much harder to break the front wherever Bisu is trying to break. So very nicely played so far with these Scourges so far. Larva really showing why he's one of the best Zerg players out there right now. And again, sniping off a couple more of these Corsairs, slowly breaking down Bisu's defenses and his ability to truly actually get a lot done. And we do see a big move out from Larva with his first army. Now, this isn't a particularly scary army, but he does have the full energy Defilers here and control on top of this ramp. He's going to be morphing in a lot more lurkers, and that's going to make it much easier to deal with this. But if Bisu's on top of this and sees this, he can definitely see there is the potential for other places to drop. And we do see one storm drop coming in. He gets the second storm drop off as well. So lots of dead drones in both of those bases. That's pretty brutal. And also the Dark Templar to deny that base. So Bisu doing a great job so far of being able to push back Larva and prevent him from getting where he wants to be. And we actually saw an Archon morph back there, so that's going to be even more annoying and very difficult to deal with only Lings. Meanwhile, Larva is just pushing in. He's really trying to fight for this ridge and make sure that he gets it. Honestly, if I were Bisu, I would just pack up everything and kill that lower base, because you have such an immobile army with these lurkers that it's really difficult to actually get across the map. Meanwhile, you can continue to drop in that upper right while you pull the attention away. Another storm drop comes in. This one not quite as effective. A couple of missed storms, I think. But still, it's Bisu continuing to pull Larva back and prevent him from actually doing the things that he wants. We see tons more drones. Larva on top of his macro. He's already remade all the drones in those bases, so he's back into full macro mode. He's close to maxed. I'm sure Bisu's been maxed for quite a while, and Bisu probably has his entire side of the map. Hopefully he even has that 6-7 o'clock base down there in the bottom. because if Bisu can get control of that, that kind of almost guarantees that it'll win the late game. Because if you ever get into a split map situation with a Protoss player as Zerg, it becomes exponentially harder to trade well. So if you have the economy disadvantage, even going into the late game, it's so much harder to deal with that later on. But excellent play so far. Bisu just controlling the map. Larva trying to get an advantage wherever he can. He did manage to finally get this expansion up, his 5th base. So that's going to be really nice as his main is running dry. But it's slowly going to become more and more difficult to actually deal with this. I would like to see just a couple of stealthy defilers go out and just get some free plagues off, because that makes it so much easier to deal with these armies before they actually get to your front door. If you're only plaguing once the zealots are on top of your lurkers, then you're not really doing your job very well. Excellent play to immediately pull everything. It's going to be a difficult defense, but he did snipe all of the observers already, so Bisu actually can't push in here. That's it. Like, he can try to push in here with just overwhelming numbers and try to storm all of the lurkers, but it's going to be difficult to actually do it because there are a ton of lurkers and even more coming across the map. He might be able to snipe this base, but that's about the most that he can do. Once the reinforcements come in, they're going to be able to clean this up because there still isn't any observers at all for Bisu, and all Larva has to do is slowly leapfrog forward with these lurkers. And he's actually, I think he actually just loaded up a small drop. He might try just dropping on that force. And good play to intercept that. Didn't quite get it, but he did do some good damage on those Reavers. That's going to be really annoying. And the shuttle actually flies into a spore, so not great. All of Larva's drones are safe and sound. There's not a problem at all. He just needs to send a couple units back to deal with that. Meanwhile, he did hold off the attack at his 5th base. He lost the hatchery, but it's not too big of a deal for Larva right now because he still is maintaining the economy quite a bit, except for when that happens, big storm drops. I'm not sure if they actually killed that many drones, but it's hard to tell if they actually did. But either way, looks like Larva, after seeing that Bisu is targeting his upper right bases really, really hard, he's going to be expanding down to this bottom, the 7 o'clock expansion. Like I said before, I think Bisu probably should have expanded there earlier, or at least just put down a small cannon farm. You do that, like, you're in a much better position as the Protoss player, because you know that as you go into the late game, you're going to be in a much, much better position. So, very ultra defensive split map play by Larva. It's a little bit different. Normally, these days, we see Zerg players, they always go for these very hyper-aggressive mid-game armies, but Larva doing a really good job of making the most of his units and getting into those scary late game armies, and he's doing quite a bit of damage with these small groups of units. But he really needs to get a couple more units over there, or else he's going to lose that base as well. Every single time that Bisu pushes one side of the map, Larva is always looking to find better ways to secure the other side of the map. But we do see a huge attack coming in. This is not quite a maxed army, but that's like at least 100 supply moving across the map right now. It's quite a bit for Larva right now. He knows that he has a small army advantage, so he's just going to try to pick off this expansion down on the bottom right. And that's really good, especially if he can get that expansion over on the top left. It's going to allow him a huge chance to get back into the game and start to solidify a better economy advantage. And lots of High Templar out of position. I don't think he's going to be able to actually snipe those. I wonder if Larva's going to go into mutas at any point in time, or if he's still holding that trump card. We see quite a bit of gas RAM banking up over 2,000. So there's still the chance that Bisu makes even the slightest error and loses a bunch of Archons or all of his Dragoons, that Larva could right away switch into that muta switch and just absolutely terrorize his bases. So more Sunkens going down. Constant defense coming in, but we do see the double drop coming in. Is he going to be able to snipe a ton of drones? Wow, so many Scourge. That's insane. An Archon and a Zealot do get down. Archons and Zealots both very good against Lings. Well, mostly just the Archon. But we do see Larva's just trying to defend this with pure Ling, and eventually he'll probably be able to clean that up, but it's quite difficult to deal with very often. And again, the Observer Snipe. It's so good how Larva is constantly on top of these Observer Snipes, just constantly preventing Bisu from actually pushing up into his base the way he wants. And a huge flank coming out from that big army earlier. This could actually be disaster for Bisu if these units get in the proper positioning. And he's actually, oh, he's gonna snipe the Reaver shuttle again. There go the Reavers. Lots of storms being wasted. Looks like that was not a proper cast from Bisu. He just kind of clicked all of his High Templar on one space at the same time. So that was really unfortunate for Bisu. He ended up losing a lot more than he really should have there. There's a couple of these Templar out of position. They're going to be able to get some decent storms off. That one was a really good one. That one was an excellent one. But Larva has advantage over this high ground now, and this is like the basic tenet of Zerg against any sort of immobile army, any sort of death ball, is you just kind of cut in between the reinforcements and the big army, and you basically create an island. And eventually your remacro will be able to deal with it quite well. But we do see actually these lurkers out of position. He doesn't quite have the defilers or the unit advantage really here to take control of the center of the map. If he could take control of the center of the map, it'd be amazing, but it's not going to happen, unfortunately. So pulling back once again, Larva's going to go into pure defensive mode. I love the way that he spreads out his lurkers so well, but unfortunately he pulled back to the wrong base. And looks like his top right is definitely going to be going down. Sorry, top mid rather. There's tons of Archons. This is what I was talking about. This is the late game that you want as the Protoss player. A couple Reavers in the back and then tons of Archons, and you can't even touch that as a Zerg player. There's nothing you can do. But Larva amazingly pushing this back. That's actually really impressive that he managed to actually find a way back into this. He is continuing to remacro, keep his money low. It's actually insane how well he's doing in terms of just keeping his money very, very low. But this base is kind of mined out, so maybe that's why he wasn't afraid to sacrifice it. He's more interested in keeping control of his fresh base, which has tons of minerals and gas left. Does that base have a gas, actually? Does the third base on the high ground have a gas? Might be mineral only. Anyhow, so constantly remacroing. We see the push coming back down to the natural. But a good plague going off. That's going to be able to soften up these Zealots quite a bit for future engagements. But the Archons are just shredding through everything right now. Archons are so brutally good at things. He's going to try to get another plague off. Another good plague that is going to make these Zealots much squishier and much easier to deal with. But he's got to send some reinforcements right now. This is the first time we've seen Larva not threaten the big surround. He's been playing way too defensively on the other side of the map, maybe expecting another drop or a big push. But as a result, he's actually going to lose the space. And this is the first time we've seen Larva really falter with his defensive style, and it's going to come back to bite him. It's pretty brutal. And despite having so many of these lurkers, it's impossible to push up here because the Lings just can't break the Archons. Brutal. So this is going to take a long time to actually clean up. Once he finally does, he's definitely traded inefficiently, and there is the danger of Bisu pushing back into that top 11 o'clock base. At this point, I'm wondering how mined out Bisu is. Bisu did take earlier 4th, 5th, and 6th bases, but I imagine his first 3 bases are mined out. So the top right is completely mined out. The bottom right is the only real target for Larva right now. If he ever does get a chance to go offensive, he's definitely going to be targeting those spaces. Otherwise, he's just looking to defend as long as possible and get snipes on all of these dropships. Sorry, these shuttles. I always call them dropships, and I'm so sorry. So sorry, you guys. Good micro there by Bisu to pull that Templar away, but all the drones do survive in both of the bases, so not a huge deal at all. And we see again the Templar drop's going to come in, it's going to get sniped, not a big deal, easy peasy. The Zealots being really annoying up in the top left. This is one of those things where I feel like Bisu could have put this in conjunction with a simultaneous counterattack on that bottom left and just sealed the game right there. But every single time that Bisu does something, it's just one thing and then another thing shortly after that. They're not together, they're not synced very well. So I feel like that drop was a bit of a missed opportunity. He could have done a lot more damage there and gotten his army out on the map to threaten that base a lot earlier. But as a result, oh, sorry you guys, I'm just yawning today. But as a result, he's actually going to miss out on a perfect win condition right here. And lots of Scourge coming in. They're going to pick off both the observers, both the shuttles. So these are slow-ass Reavers. And he's going to pick off another observer. And without observers, you can't really do anything here. Whoa! That was so many Dark Swarms all at once. And this is the difficulty. When you don't have observers, what do you do against lurkers? What do you do? Brilliant play so far from Larva, just doing a great job of continually sniping those observers, keeping Bisu from ever actually doing anything. And a small misplay there by Larva, but he is getting the re-macro. He's going to have a ton of units coming in right now. And we do see the big surround. This is it. This is actually Bisu's last army. Now, all these gas units, all of the Archons, all of the Reavers, that's pretty much the last of Bisu's high-tech army. So it's going to take him a while to actually build that up. And I wonder if he even has the resources for it, because the game is running quite late now. And Zerg is running almost entirely off of Zerglings. Larva's been doing a really good job of trading out Zerglings and keeping his gas units alive versus Bisu's units. And like I said earlier, the 3-3 Cracklings are going to annihilate Zealots. So when we get into these super late game situations where economies are really, really low, doesn't even matter. And there's the Observer Snipe again! Oh my god, that's so annoying. And he's actually going to be chasing down this this shuttle as well. Good little drop there. That's going to be annoying to deal with and clean up. But you can see Bisu's army is getting pretty low in the gas department. There's only a couple of Archons. He's actually going to lose yet another High Templar over here that could be in his army. And overall, it's becoming a problem for Bisu, where the later this game goes, the better it is for Larva, because he's going to be able to work entirely off of Hydra Ling, which does very well against pure gateway units. Good job picking off those High Templar over there in that base. The top left is almost completely mined out for Larva as well. He's only really got those two bases at the 10 o'clock and over there by the 7 o'clock. Those are his lifelines. He has to keep those alive at all costs. But again, the Observer Snipe, again the amazing Shuttle Snipe, and again another Shuttle Snipe. It's insane how on point he is with all of these Scourge. And this is the problem when you just run pure Zealot Archon into lurkers without observers, you get shredded. So over time this is going to become more and more problematic, as Bisu he doesn't have the proper units or the unit composition to deal with it. He needs a couple Dragoons in there, but at this point I guess he feels like he just needs to bust the space as much as possible. But it's so hard to do because again more observers go down. And this must be so frustrating for Bisu, because he can't break this base. Every time he goes in to try to break the base, more observers get sniped. He can't deal with it. He can't get on top of those lurkers and kill them. It's just, oh my gosh, Larva just playing like a god, playing out of his mind, and still so many lurkers are still up in this game. It's actually insane how much there actually still is for Larva in terms of the gas department, and the big plays coming out constantly. It softens up all these ults, makes it even easier for the cracklings to deal with it, and just, oh my gosh, I can't even. I can't even, you guys. It's insane, dude. He's a god. Look, there goes the observer in the shuttle again. Again. How? How does he do this, dude? Oh my god. And at this point, you can tell that he's tilting. Yeah, he just runs a drop directly into Scourge. Bisu, I think he's lost this game. Lost so many units and he can't seem to find a good opening, but there is nothing here. Actually, there's only some static defense, and if he commits his full Zealot Archon army to this top area where there are zero of those lurkers, he's going to be able to easily clean this up. Yeah, that's a gigantic Zealot Archon army, but like I was talking about earlier, this isn't really a problem for Larva. Like, these bases were already dead. I actually don't think you should have sent any units over there at all, because those bases are as good as dead anyway. They don't have any useful resources. They're completely mined out. All he needs to worry about is this base in the 10 o'clock and the base in the 7 o'clock. Those are the only ones that matter. Literally nothing else matters. You know, he could even... I would say losing his main is still bad, but... at the same time, like, he could still honestly lose his main right now, and it's not that big of a deal. But if it's just pure, like, if he's losing to, like, if he's losing the bases that have all of his last mining, it's gonna be a real problem for him. So, good stuff so far. He's just trying to prevent any sort of cute little counterattack, or any kind of storms that are gonna come in on the storm on this backline. It's very annoying to deal with, but once you pick off that... Did he just storm a Scourge? He just stormed a Scourge? Oh my god, you can tell Bisu is in like full tilt. He doesn't know. He doesn't know what to do. And like Larva, I think Larva doesn't even know what's going on. I think you can tell he's playing a lot slower right now. Trying to think through his decisions, like, what am I supposed to be doing right now? How do I win this game? But he is getting there. He's getting to the point where his money advantage is going to be kicking in. And I get another observer snipe. There's still one more observer, but he's probably going to be able to get that too. There's nothing in the sky, or nothing to shoot those Scourge down out of the sky, so he's easily going to be able to deal with that. And Bisu actually, some inattention, he walks all of his units into a bunch of lurkers for a couple of seconds, and that's going to hurt him going into this part. But this is almost the breaking point. If Bisu can take down this base, he'll be in really good shape. Lots of drones go down in that exchange, so they're going to be able to do it. But amazing micro. I think he's actually going to be able to clean that up. I think Bisu's freaking out, but you see all those lurkers, there's still so much army for Larva right now, and I love this. This is cute. He blocks off the natural, and he's just going to bottle the rest of this Protoss army in this choke. And if he can kill this Protoss army, that's the end of the game. When these Archons go down, that's the end of the game. There's nothing left for Bisu. A good storm so far. He's going to be trying to kite the Archons back through these lurkers. This is pretty brutal so far, but we do see a couple of these lurkers get burrowed over here. There are a couple observers in the sky, and this time they don't get sniped, so good win for Bisu there. But Hydra Ling versus Zealots. Hydra Ling is amazing versus Zealots. So at this point, it doesn't even matter. Like, Larva can just literally stick to only Hydra Ling and win the game, because there's no more tech units left. There's nothing. Bisu didn't even try to make arbiters, he didn't try to make carriers or anything super high tech. He just tried to stick with that gigantic death ball, and he was never able to do anything with it, and he kept hemorrhaging off those gas units. And now he's in a situation where Larva's actually, he split the map long enough, and he's got enough good trades that it doesn't even, and there's the Observer snipe again! Oh my god! Larva, you god! And the spreading out of his lurkers is also so good. He's doing such a great job of spreading out his lurkers perfectly so that they can't actually be taken out by a single storm. And it's really starting to show that it's just so difficult. There's just a couple of Archons left, but honestly, Hydraling can deal with this pretty decently. He's just got to kite back. I think he may have taken an unnecessarily bad trade there, but he did soften up that one Archon, so that's going to be a little bit easier to deal with in the future. And you can see that Larva is pretty starved for gas at this point, and we can assume Bisu's starved just as much. He's only got a couple of Archons. It's going to be really difficult for him to actually get a lead here, and a couple shots on that shuttle, that's going to be really annoying. And the Scourge get the shuttle. They're gonna get this this observer as well, and I think that's actually the last. There is no observer. There's no observer. There's no observer at that base. He's relying entirely on the last of his High Templar to deal with this, but there's nothing to deal with this. He can't actually stop it. And a gigantic Zerg army of mostly Hydraling and a Defiler coming down here. They're gonna easily be able to clean this up. Unless these Reavers are ultra mega god tier, it just doesn't even matter. The game is over at this point. Those oh my gosh, all of the Zealots melt instantly, and that's gonna be it. Bisu has absolutely nothing left. More Hydraling flooding in here. There's a Morphing Archon and 2 Reavers, but they're not gonna be able to deal with this. This is gonna be the end of the game. Good dodge for there. And Bisu has nothing left. That's all of his army. That's all of the high tech. All he can make now is really Zealots and a couple of Archons. And what can you do against this Hydraling? Larva standing strong despite all of that. It's insane. You can see there's only Zealots at this point, and there's still even, oh my gosh, and the Plague even goes down, and he still has a couple of these lurkers. There's absolutely no chance. Bisu hemorrhaging off even more of those. He's got to hit the god tier storm in order to actually get back in this game, but basically he needs to kill like 2 armies with 1 storm, and it's not going to happen because that well, that was a pretty good storm. That was actually a pretty good storm as well. But there's nothing left. And what, you're going to send mass Zealots versus lurkers? There it is. There is the GG. Larva is so relieved. Dang. That game was amazing. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the cast, please like and subscribe down below. You can also follow me on Twitter for more updates. I do plenty of Brood War as well as Heroes of the Storm, and I look forward to seeing you guys more. Later.